I'm going ahead and starting with my Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, and I'm just going to go ahead and use this all over my face and my forehead so everything's nice and primed and ready. Then I'm going ahead and taking my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer in the shade Sand and just going ahead and placing that on my under eye circles and any areas where I have redness, as well as any blemishes around the sides of my nose and on my forehead. Next, taking a damp Beauty Blender sponge, I'm just concealing everything that I went ahead and had and just buffing it into my face and making sure everything is nice and smooth for the next step. Taking that same Instant Age Rewind concealer, I'm putting it on my eyelids as a sort of primer so that the color comes out a bit more opaque. Again, just buffing it in and making sure everything is nice and seamless. Since it looks good, on to the next step. Taking my Anastasia Beverly Hills double-ended spoolie brush, I'm using that with the Dipbrow Anastasia Beverly Hills Pomade in the shade Ebony, and just going ahead and filling in the outline of my brows and just trying to shape them as nicely as possible. Then going ahead and repeating this process on the other brows, starting with brushing them off with the spoolie. Then taking my Lime Crime Plushies palette in the yellow shade Jackfruit, just going ahead and placing that all over the lid and making sure to just pat it on lightly as to get the most color. Going in with that same jackfruit color, I'm just blending it a bit and sort of putting it on the rest of the eye so as to give the eye a base for color to hold onto. Then using the Sephora blending brush, just going ahead and blending everything in so that it softens the color and looks nice and even. I went ahead and added a little bit more of that jackfruit on the upper lid so that it popped a little bit more. Then going in with the shade Mango on that same Plushies palette, just patting it onto my upper crease. Not exactly the crease, but just to go ahead and start layering those colors one on top of the other. Going back in once more in that Plushies palette, taking the darkest orange color, Orange Juice, and going ahead and placing that on the crease. This is going to go inside the crease as well as just blend out so that we have all these colors sort of together. And once more, going back in with that Sephora blending brush, the Pro Crease number 10, and just making sure everything's nice and even. Now taking this BH Cosmetics Take Me Back to Brazil palette in this red shade. It doesn't have a shade name. Just going ahead and putting that on my brush and packing it into the lid and trying to make it so it sticks just as a nice little base. And one more time, going in with that Plushies palette in the pink shade Dragon Fruit and placing that on the bottom part of the lid and the center so that we tie all the colors together. Then going once more in with the Sephora Pro Crease brush and blending everything in. Then going in back once more to the BH Cosmetics Take Me to Brazil palette. In the top row, it does not have a shade name, but the green color on the very first row, and just going ahead and putting that all over the crease as a base shade. I'm sorry, I meant the lid as well as the kind of upper lid. Sorry, not the crease. Going back in that Take Me to Brazil palette and using the green shade on the third level and just packing that onto the upper lid. We're going to essentially repeat the same steps as we did for the other eye, but now with this green shade. Going back into that Take Me to Brazil palette in this blue shade in the far right hand corner, second row, and just going ahead and packing that right above that green we had laid down. Then blending that shade in once more. It was right about here that I realized I wasn't really feeling that green. So I went ahead and used that light blue shade on the first top row of the BH Cosmetics palette. And boy, did that really turn things around. Look at that. So much nicer now. Total game changer. Now taking that light blue color just once more and just packing it onto my full lid as to fully get away from that green color that I just scrapped that idea. After having blended that shade in, I'm going in with the Pinky Rose Bright Lights Cosmetics palette in the shade Cloud and going ahead and packing that all over my lid once more and in the surrounding crease to blend all the blues together and just bring it full circle with that crease brush. Now taking my Tarte Amazonian Clay Full Coverage Foundation in the shade Medium Neutral, buffing it in to my skin, making everything seamless, then going back into the Bright Lights Pinky Rose Cosmetics palette and using that same blue in the shade Cloud that we used before just to once more tie the lower eye with the upper eye. Then going back into the Bright Lights palette from Pinky Rose and using the shade Lit, that's that yellow shade, packing it on my upper lid as to brighten it up and also placing it on the lower lash line and tying it together, just repeating the same steps with the blue eye, but essentially now with yellow. Then using the Bright Lights palette once more, going in with that pink shade Becca and using it on the lid where we originally put that pink and blending it in the lower lash line as well. Taking my Too Faced bronzer and just buffing that into my skin, all over the sides of my face, my nose, as well as my forehead. So we're just gonna go ahead and contour everything nice, just make everything even. Next, taking the Citi color Be Matte Blush Trio, going into that most pink shade and just taking that on my powder brush and putting it on the apples of my cheeks and placing it right above where we put that bronzer to tie it together. Girl, bye, I totally forgot. Duh. I usually go ahead and start with powder, not blush. My bad. And using the Laura Mercier powder and putting that right below where we put the blush and on the sides of my nose, on my under eyes, and on my forehead. Now going back into that original step and using that blush just to brush away the excess powder, tie everything together. I like to put some at the tip of my nose. You don't have to. It's optional, up to you. I just like it because it's summertime currently and it gives you that nice sun-kissed, sunburnt, cute look. Then taking my Becca Cosmetics highlighter in the shade Pearl, just placing that right above where we placed the blush to tie everything together. Oof, look at that glow. Girl! Then taking that same highlighter and using a very small brush, just placing that right below my brow bone and accentuating it, making that highlight pop out. Then I'm taking the Glitter Goals liquid lipstick by NYX and going ahead and placing that on my lips. It's a nice little lip color, just tie everything together, and that is going to give you a nice little hint of glitter when you go in the sun. Finally, finishing up with my Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray, spraying that all over to keep everything in place, and my Maybelline mascara. Alright, and that is the final look. Yes! I am finally finished filming, and go ahead and be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe, give a like, smash that like button if you like this tutorial. My name is Gabby. I am from Bay Area Crypt, and see you guys next time. Bye!